Please don't. If not, I just cancel. Hello, welcome, everyone. Okay, so welcome to the Leap, a podcast dedicated to helping people to get inspired to change careers and become software developers. Today, we have a special guest with us, Jian Zhen or Jace. He is a successful senior software developer who has made a transition early on in his career. So Jace will be sharing his story, or Jay-Z. Oh, Jay-Z sounds like a rapper's name. Yes, actually it is. And then he's going to offer valuable advice for those who are looking to make a similar transition. So if you've been considering a career change and is interested in becoming a software developer, this is the episode for you. So join us in this journey, and you are going to hopefully be inspired to take the leap into this exciting and rewarding field. So thank you so much, Jace, for joining in this podcast.
Oh, am I supposed to say something? Okay. So, hey, hi. So,
All right.
do I need to introduce myself? Where I work?
Sure.
Okay. So, I'm a front-end developer currently at Secret Lab. Yeah.
Right. So what's Secret Lab? Was it a secret?
Fun fact about Secret Lab. Oh, I don't think I can say. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I have a fun fact about
So
Secret Lab.
what is
Yeah.
Secret Lab for those who don't know?
Oh, for Secret Lab is a chair company. Sorry, they do more than chairs. Sorry, it's a furniture company.
Right. So for those who don't know, Secret Lab is a very popular gaming chair company. So if you've seen Twitch streamers or YouTubers who play a lot of games, you might seen like
Yeah,
very
chairs
nice
owned
chairs.
Secret Lab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty expensive as well. But before we get into your career as a software developer, right? I think I've seen that you actually didn't start in the tech field. So
Yeah.
back in Polytechnic, what was your first diploma?
Oh, my first diploma was in child psychology.
Right.
Right.
So yeah.
So I really enjoy my time in child psychology. I really like it's a very fun thing to learn about like how humans develop from childhood, right? But I realized that if I really want a career in it, it's gonna take what 3 years in poly, another 4 years in university, another 5 years in postgrad. It's gonna take a while, right? It's gonna take a long while. And back then, I think around when I decided to make a change, my family was going through a lot of financial problems, and I feel like I can tap into a skill that I already had. So I developed an interest in programming when I was 13. So when I was 13, I started learning programming from books because like 2013, 2014, there wasn't really a lot of resources online yet. I guess like CS50 was like the best you can go, which I think I finished CS50 from Berkeley and from Harvard as well. It's a very, very good resource if you want to start as well. But it's very, very theory intense. It's it's just a very intense course, right? Then if you really read from books and stuff, it's really dense. Yeah, so I didn't really develop further. It was just a hobby that I just kept, right? And it didn't really resurface as a career option until I moved into the IT diploma, right? I made a switch, and at the end of year one, I realized that I really love helping out mental health, but I cannot see myself doing it as a career. I really need to go into the workforce fast. It's kind of being forced into, yeah.
Right. So the reason is that you don't see yourself in the mental health industry, and you need to be I guess as employable as possible.
Correct.
If I'm right, yeah. So
Correct.
that's why you chose to change your diploma in tech.
Yes, I did information technology in Ngee
Mm,
Polytechnic.
right. So what made you aware other than the hobby? What sparked that hobby of yours of learning tech in the first place? Right? It
God,
couldn't
okay,
be just yeah.
I'll tell you the story. So in 2021, 2012, right? In 2012, I saw this advertisement on on a newspaper just saying, hey, come and learn how to create your own game for free. I was just like, cool, let me go for it. It's a free workshop, why not? Yeah, no, the why not is it's literally taught me nothing. It was a $3,000 cost, and I was just so angry at the end of it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn it by myself, which is why I started learning it by myself, right? I eventually I did go into the game industry, but I quit within 2 months. Yeah, the game industry is horrendous. You can ask me more later.
Right. So basically, there was an ad that says, "Oh, why not learn game?" You went through it; it wasn't the best experience, and then I call education revenge. So you taught yourself
Correct. Correct.
on to teach. Oh, that's a very interesting story, right?
Mm.
So when you go through this IT diploma, right, from a psychology, experience, what was different about being in a psychology, like, not say industry, but psychology subject to an IT subject? What's like the main difference?
I guess in school, the priorities really change. Like you will see that people's priorities change a lot. Because like in the school of humanities, it's always about like balancing people's emotions. I'm not saying that you don't do that in IT, but I'm saying that your work is not tied to your ability to handle people. Your work is
Mm,
tied to your abilities as
mm,
a as someone who can solve problems, right? And I think that's something I realized that I can show the world more. Because I think early on, still a child, very immature, the ability to handle people really not there, social skills invisible. So yeah, I was just very misunderstood very early on, all the time. Yeah, and because of that, like I do think that going through and growing up in an environment where people do not judge you on your judged you on your emotions first, and then going through like one that didn't, it was very jarring, but it was something that I grew comfortable with.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a very good distinction, or what do you call it, observation, right? Because I was also similarly in psychology. And yes, you are judged on how you deal with people, because psychology is humans, right? Then
Mm.
when you go to tech, people judge on your skills. You can't do the skills, you'll be judged. If you can do your skills, you can be judged. So, in a sense, very meritocratic kind of way of judgment, right? So, it doesn't
Mm.
matter who you are. If you're good, you're good. If you're not good, you're not good. That's basically it, right? So I love that distinction because I guess it
Mm.
gives a fair playing field. Like people don't like. Do you agree that when you're in the IT industry, no matter who you are, how you act, if you can do the work, people respect you? Is that something that you think is a fair point, or do you disagree?
To a certain extent,
Hmm.
like it's still about being a team player, right? Like if you are a brilliant engineer but you don't refuse to work with anyone else, I don't think any company will hire you anyways, right? Like you can be the most brilliant engineer, but if your code is impossible to integrate because you refuse to talk to anyone about how your code works, yeah, you're not getting hired. So to a certain extent, that you should be very competent at your work, but you also should be. You cannot run away from the fact that you are still working with people, right? Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I also agree. I guess it's a balance, right?
Mm.
You need to be a good team player. You need to also be a good contributor, right? As what we said, right? So basically, like you can be a genius, but if you don't work with people, then you might not be a genius in the other field of like
You'll be a mystery genius.
emotional. Yeah, but if you're a good team player and you're okay, people still like you, then yeah, you'll be in a good, comfortable, like a working environment and working team as well. So
Mm.
at the same time, right, I also saw that you have also taught students in
Oh
a
yeah.
coding bootcamp, right? So in your
Yes.
experience, right, helping these coding bootcamp students, what makes a good learner?
Someone without ego. I realized that that's always something that holds people back. Like I remember a student. After she graduated, she wanted to look for a senior developer role, and I was just like, "Hold your horses, woman! Just come back, come back!" And she was like flopping through the entire course, and I was just like, "Yeah, I don't think this was ever right for you." I think like it's always like expectations as well. Like yeah, it's really expectations. So like I think if you come into the tech field expecting a lot of money, I don't think that is a good reason to switch a career. I think the best reason to switch a career is realizing that you have reached your maximum in whatever field you can contribute in, and bringing that you want to bring that context and knowledge into the tech field. I think that would be the best reason. Let's say you've been a doctor for years, and then you feel like you can contribute more as someone, as a medical person with technology background. I think that would be amazing. That makes the best students because they have an objective in mind of where they want to go next. Yeah.
Right. So having previous experience that you can say they are pretty experienced in, right? Like you say in the doctor medical field, and you want to bring in the tech
Oh,
knowledge. Is that what you're trying to say? Or
second thing, being young helps. Most of the best students are really young, like 26, 25. Being young helps.
but what if you're not young and define how young is young?
Uh, I mean, it's a thing, right? Like if you grow older, you naturally grow an ego because people start respecting you. You stop realizing that you don't, because you stop having the day one mindset of like, hey, I'm starting something new, right? Like it's hard to adopt that mindset again once you have
Mm.
dropped it. Yeah.
Right. So it is actually a very interesting point that you say about ego, because
Hmm.
when you transition careers, you literally start from day one, which you
Correct.
mentioned. And I definitely agree. Right. And I also believe why young people are more successful, other than, having a lot of time, is that they also start from day one most of the time. Right.
Correct.
But for people who are not young, who are more experienced, they have a certain expectation, like you said, of what's their job role and salary and whatnot, right? But
Correct.
in the end, they still have to start from day one, which is being a junior, right?
It's like a halo effect, right? Like, you know, the halo effect, like you feel like because you're good at one thing, you should be good at another thing, which never is the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I guess it's a little bit more personal. I'm not sure whether it is an age thing, but
Mm,
I believe it's always a personal thing of if someone were to, be egotistical or whatnot,
mm.
So other than that, like what do you think would also help in someone who tries to, career change in the IT industry? What do you think helps in your experience?
Someone who's just generally interested in learning. Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, right? I don't think any other field demands the amount of attention to news that tech requires. Because, like, it's wild that like technology literally can break tomorrow if someone in like Norway decided not update his computer. It's a thing that can actually happen. Something that actually has happened before was someone deciding to delete a library, which happened like last year. Like he deleted his entire library, cleared it out, and just said screw everyone, and that broke like half of everyone's repository. Because if you're wondering, it's Faker.js. Faker.js was deleted, and Faker.js was used as testing library for a lot of companies.
Mm,
Yeah.
right. So basically, someone who is really up to date with the current changes in the technology, right? So if
Someone
you
who's willing to be that updated. Someone who's willing to look up for this news.
right, I
Yeah.
mean,
You don't have to be
right,
updated originally, but go in and when you start learning, start going into diving deep into like learning the news of it. Yeah, that helps. That I think one of my students who really excelled at that was someone who came in and then started like I think by week three, week four, he's like really into like tech news already, and he's been sharing like tech news, and I was just loving that enthusiasm. And he did present one of the best projects. It was like well done, well done. Yeah,
right,
above what a starter project. Like you will never be able to tell that this is someone who has never programmed in his life before.
right. So do you
Mm.
think that being passionate about whatever you are learning actually helps?
Absolutely, like it's don't go into a field because of the money. I've told this a million times, and I'll say it over and over again. Don't ever go into a field because of the money. Like, never let the money blind you. The people who are earning 10K a month are not working at the company you will be working at, right? Like, let's be very, very honest. Like, the only way you are making that amount is you work for 5 years and become a senior, or you work at one of those giant companies that pay you that amount at entry, or you work in investment banking, yeah.
Is it because of the news where a random YouTuber asked a graduate how much salary are you expecting, and then she said, at least 10K. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's insane, right? It's insane. Like that they believe that this is like a thing.
Right. Yeah. So you're
But yeah, I
saying?
mean, like there are places that will pay you that amount at graduation, like JP Morgan, because JP Morgan, like their belief is they're an investment bank, right? Like if you can pass an internship, they'll pay you at your internship pay will be the full timers pay. So
Mm,
that's why you hear like 24K for an internship.
wow.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, wow.
that's
Yeah.
insane. That's
But
an insane number. That's an
yeah, yeah.
insane number.
Yes, yes.
I
It
think if
is.
I'm
It
not wrong,
is.
it was a valedictorian who got it. So unless you are a valedictorian, yeah, it's only that one position, right? They don't
Right.
need that many engineers to do one thing.
Yeah. So I mean, you've pointed out 2 points, right? One is joining the tech industry for the money. Second is that have actual like what do you call that? Realistic expectations with your salary. So let me talk about number one, right? About going to tech for the money. So that was my main reason why I go to tech. Really wanted
So,
to go in for the money, but later on I developed the passion for tech as well, lah,
hmm,
because it's paying a lot more money than most industries, and yeah, I gain a passion to it. So second is, I think I really do agree, realistic expectations, right? Like 10K per month, it's absurd, and most of the time these positions are either to given to very smart people or very experienced people, but not junior people, right? So
hmm.
why do you think there is that misconception of starting salaries for tech roles?
I mean, it's always published, right? It's always published like Note Flare always publishes it like
Yeah.
no pay, starting pay. Like I don't care, I'm
For
not
those,
gonna get
yeah,
paid.
for those who don't know what's Noteflare, so Noteflare is basically a website that showcases salaries for mostly tech roles, mainly software developer roles, mainly established companies. Yeah,
Correct.
carry on.
Very
Yeah.
big companies like ByteDance, and I'm like, ByteDance has rejected me 3 times. So it's hard. It's hard to get there.
Yeah. So, is it just because of Noteflare? I don't think so. Noteflare is not the most,
I
like
won't say it's
viewed
Noteflare, but
source.
I feel like it's because people like Noteflare being publishing all those results because they do collect the results and they use like actual like receipts. They have receipts about all these results, and people would trust their results. And news organization would take these results and just publish it,
Mm,
like Mothership. Sorry, I'm thinking you're publishing to a global audience. Singapore news sites, newspapers. Let's say, like, let's be real honest. The glorification of like Silicon Valley life, I think that helped a lot. Like I think like the like because of Google needing like a lot more back in the early startup phase of Google, they needed a lot more incentive to keep their employees. So they had like the high pay. That's one, and then the like really really insane life at like the tech startup life of like free food, free lunch. I mean, I'm getting that, but like, but like you don't get that everywhere.
no, I mean, it depends on the company. And do
Correct.
you think it's realistic for people, who just graduated from, coding boot camps to, have that kind of salary?
Uh, Highest I've seen is 4 5K, which is a uni grad's pay for software dev. So I'll say it's like realistic enough, but again, that's the highest because especially bootcamp, especially for bootcamp, the companies are taking a gamble on you, right? Because you have how long is your bootcamp?
3 months. I mean, like we're gone.
Right,
That you've
three
been in
months,
3 months, right? Yeah.
3 months, right? Like we are doing 3 months. Realistically, I think the companies and the bootcamp themselves both know, and you should know this as well. You are not prepared. Right? They are taking a gamble. They will train you on site, and that's what you're getting paid for. You're getting paid to be trained. to be an employee.
Right.
And I think that's fair, right? That's fair. Like, because I think I started out like as interns, and I interned a lot. Like, kind of like begged for an internship, and like kind of didn't even ask for a lot. Started for like first internship was nothing. Second internship was 1,000. Third internship was like 1,006. It's not a lot, right? And then eventually worked from like that bunch of internships helped me secure my first job, and then my second job, my third job. Yeah. After a while,
Right.
people stop caring where you come from. They just care for which company you were previously from.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with experience, definitely it helps to get, higher pay jobs, and it's easier to get the foot in the door, right? But for those who have no experience, who are in the coding boot camp, kind of experience itself, right? What do you think is a good way to really put the foot in the door of like getting your first opportunity? For you, what you said was intern for free. So do you think we should do that, or it depends on the situation, or what?
Go to events. Go to events that, well, I'm in Geeks Hacking, which is like an organization, but I also run like, I also kind of help out with like Geek Camp every year. So go to all these events, rub shoulder with anyone. Because like this year for Geeks Camp, this year for Geek Camp, right? Like the CEO of like, I can't remember that crypto company, but it's a very successful crypto company. They came down.
KYX, Coinbase, well, I don't know lah.
It's
But
purple
yeah,
color. I can't remember.
purple
But yeah, it's
color.
a
Never
crypto
mind.
company,
Yeah.
a very big crypto company. They are listing soon, and yeah, like the CEO came down, and like I couldn't believe, because like he came down next week. He was like in London doing like an interview, and like the other week he went on like NC MB NC what's that news channel?
NCBC,
Yeah, MSNBC to like do an interview. Like, yeah, so it's like insane. So go rub shoulders with all these people. This is the best chance to get hired, because like honestly, there are a lot of portfolios. I realistically, this one you have to ask like recruiters. I'm not very familiar. I know from my experience that the fastest way I get interviewed is to know someone from the company, to get an internal referral. Yeah,
Yep. I do definitely agree on that. Like
internal
having
referral.
referrals, going to events and talk to
Someone to
people.
vouch for you, man. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but the thing is, I believe both of us are extroverts, right? What about the introverts?
Well, do it the old-fashioned way. Create a portfolio and try our best. But yeah, honestly, like doing a career switch requires a lot of people to take a trust on you, right? And it's an uncomfortable thing to do, but I feel like your best shot is really going to rub shoulders.
Mm,
Your best shot. But if you like really, really want to, just apply
mm.
and lie on your resume.
In Singapore school, we don't say that. This is JZ's advice or joke. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah. No, no, no. I mean, like, just don't get caught. No, okay, I'm joking. Please don't do that. You will get caught. You will absolutely get like caught. But you know, yeah, like whatever you do, like just
Try your best.
hustle,
Yes.
hustle.
Yes. Try your best.
I don't really like the hustle culture. I feel like work-life balance is still a thing, but like, man, like it's a greater societal problem that like we have to hustle. Unfortunately,
I
like
mean,
it's a greater
yeah.
society problem that we don't have time to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess like yes, applying, going for events, and then like really talk to people, getting a referral at least to
Mm,
an opportunity. I think that is honestly something that I will also agree on.
mm,
So and then after that, right? Like, uh, how then do you, for example, like how do you then prepare, because now you have the opportunity at hand, like
right.
from yeah, so how from your experience when you teach, how do you then prepare for this kind of interviews,
Okay, so for
or for your
interviews,
yes.
right, specifically, right, like for especially a lot of, I don't know whether your audience like are people who are from the tech field, likely not. So tech interviews, right, come in two forms, right? The algo questions you will never have the third form, which that's what I'm not talking about it. The second
Algo
question,
is algorithm. Yeah.
algo test questions, algorithm test questions, and second is the
Mm.
take home projects. The third one is application overview. I can't remember what is it called. Application teardown. I can't remember the proper term for it. Like usually you get those questions when you're applying for like senior to lead roles, because like you have to like tear down the entire application and tell you step by step how it will look like to you and what you will attempt to do. So like what are your trade-offs and things. But by that point you should be able to handle yourself. Early on you'll be facing these two different like types of interview. Take-home interviews are more fun to do because it's actually just a take-home project with a lot of things. Uh, use it as a use it just for fun. Just do it. Like do it as though it's your personal pet project. I got hired at my current place because I spent way too much time just making the entire project fun for myself, right? Going above and beyond for the project really does help because like people appreciate effort. Like you stand out from the crowd because like for a fact that a lot of people are grinding through these projects just to like you try out law, right? But if you are someone who goes above and beyond, I know it's a bit insane to do a whole ass project just for an interview. If you really think about it, it's kind of insane that tech has that weird requirement. But if you really, really want to get hired in that one specific company, put in the effort. I think it's worth it, right? Even if you don't get hired, you can use the project in your portfolio, but check with the company whether you are allowed to. Sometimes like you are working on like features. Oh, by the way, make sure you are clear about. Make sure the companies are reputable because using take-home projects right for a while has been notorious by companies to just exploit interviewers.
Mm.
Yeah, that's something you have to be aware of. Algo questions, no running away from it, just practice. Algorithms is literally just practice thing. Like you just memorize how the algorithm works and then verbatim vomit it out in the interview. That was
Right.
what bit I TikTok. I literally looked at the question. I was just like, oh, this is a graph question, and I cannot remember how to like traverse the graph. So I'm just gonna smoke. Failed, failed very badly.
Right. Yeah. So I guess two things, right? Algorithm. So basically, these are things. You can think of it as algorithm is such a huge word, but you can think of it as like a piece of set of instructions on how to solve a
Step by step.
problem, step by
Correct.
step, and how efficient or how fast it can run it. And then second one is the take home projects. I think I do agree that last time it was exploitation. I think now it's a little bit better, right? So that basically companies will give you a set of like project and then some features for you to do, right? And then you give them back the project and see how you fare, right?
If the project sounds awfully specific and seems like a part of a bigger project, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so.
maybe don't do that.
Yeah, but you never know, right? But I feel that whether you exploit it or not, it's a good practice.
It's a
It's
good
like
project.
make light of whatever situation you have, right? Right. Then having these experiences, right? Then let's go back to the boot camp itself, right? Like you've seen students go through the boot camp. Like what were some things that most students were struggling and how you think they can overcome it?
Is it a web development bootcamp? It's a web development bootcamp, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Understanding the understanding the jump between basic programming to web development. That is a struggle because like I think like there's a lot of concepts that you need to rush through very fast. That's why 3 months genuinely not enough for you to learn everything, right? Because within a jump of like just programming like 1+1 = 2 and stuff, right? That jump towards hey you need to know okay going very basic the monolith framework of like MVC. You need to know how a model is, what is it, what does it contain, how does it interact with like the view, how does it interact with the controller, and how do you need to connect all of them. Difficult to understand. It takes a while, right? It takes a while. And yeah, that is something that people struggle with. If they don't struggle at that, they struggle at the first part, which is the programming part itself.
Right.
So those,
So
those are the two parts they'll struggle at.
right. So basically, you're saying the jump from the basics to the advanced, right?
Yeah.
So from what you're saying is the model view controller kind of like concept, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
personally, I think that's a very hard topic. I learned that
correct.
when I was in the coding bootcamp. I mean, I think I got it after a while.
Right.
But it
Take a
is
while.
a huge jump. Yeah, I do definitely think that is. But that's, I would say, unavoidable, right? Because
Correct.
it's just the concept itself it takes time for you to understand it. So
And then
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
no, no.
how do you? Yeah, how do you then like overcome this jump? Like how? Like there should be some way, right, to like, oh, I can finally get it.
Consults, videos. So consults, videos. Seeing it in action, looking at a code. Oh, but if you're looking at a code, you have to really like stare at it for a while.
Mhm.
Getting a good teacher to explain to you honestly helps.
Right.
Yeah, someone explained
So
it to me, then it clicked.
uh
That was
yeah,
like
so
years and years ago.
uh, so I
Hmm.
guess like for coding bootcamp, I mean it the quality of the instructors also plays a huge role, right, in terms of the learning experience of it, right? Then I guess also like you say consults. So consults are basically just asking help, right? And last one is like videos, all of that, correct?
Hmm.
Right. So all of these are, I think I do agree that these are resources that you can also uh,
Sorry, go on.
do. No worries. Yeah. So um uh
This can be
and
edited
this
out.
nope is live and is already
Okay, okay,
recorded.
moving
So
on.
so then from your experience, right, how long does it take for a coding bootcamp graduate to get a software developer job? Like
Oh, 6 months.
realistically.
Sorry,
Sorry?
6 months. Sorry,
6 months
six
on
months is
average.
on average 6 months. But oh, sorry,
Yeah, it's a bit
did
laggy,
you
but don't
check?
worry. Yeah, you can just
Okay, so
continue.
6 months in on average, but on the condition of like both the school helping and you putting in the work. But in general, if both side does work, 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the longest you've seen?
Oh, never getting a job, going back to your old job. That happened. That
Ah,
happens.
right. So people who join the coding bootcamp and then join back their previous company after they quit their
Or
job.
like just go to another different field. I know someone who was a lawyer, joined the coding bootcamp, and is now a flight attendant.
Nice career
Serious jump.
transition.
Serious
Yeah.
jump. I'm not even joking. Serious jump.
I mean, literally a career transition after the coding bootcamp, but not the
Yeah.
career that we thought
Yeah.
of, right? Yeah, but I mean, if the person is happy of
Yeah.
where they are, then yeah,
Dude,
all yeah,
his Instagram
good
is
for
very
them.
entertaining. His Instagram is so entertaining.
Yeah,
It's like, hi, I'm in Milan, and then hi, I'm in Paris. I'm like, oh god, I want your life.
I guess that's the Instagram life that we all
Yeah.
aspire to be, right? Then now being a software developer, right? And
Mm.
you also have gone and helped with students in the coding bootcamp. What do you think are the topics that will be super helpful for these students to learn in the coding bootcamp that will actually help them, see themselves as like developers when they were to, get a job?
Learning how to use the tools. I think it's something like a lot of schools don't teach well is learning how to use the tools, like how to use the terminal, how to use Git, how to use like version controls, how to use like yeah, just learning how to use the tools. It's small. That's why a lot of schools don't really focus on it, but it's incredibly important.
Right.
It's how you succeed in your job.
So, give an example of a tool that you think a lot of like a lot of this education or courses overlooked.
Like you should learn how the your code editor all the shortcuts as or at least as much of the shortcuts as possible. Like how do you select all of the same words? How do you select all of the first lines? Right? How do you scroll down the page immediately? Really, really helpful. Don't learn Vim for it, by the way. Like don't ever learn Vim. Like okay, learn a bit, but don't learn it. Right? Someone will disagree with me. People who
Nah,
like Vim.
but so for those who don't know what's Vim, so Vim is a code editor. So for to code, but they are famous not using the mouse lah. So I'm a person who uses a lot of the mouse, and I do agree that having shortcuts helps. And when you say, so how do you select all the text? I say, for a beginner, let me use my mouse, highlight everything, right?
But
But after a while,
eventually,
yeah,
that's
eventually you learn shortcut.
learn
So
how to
yeah,
use it.
that is, I think, is a overlooked kind of like
Mm.
what do you call that skill that being a proficient developer become. I mean, is right. So then, when you were to transition, I mean, when you now have a lot of experience in in development, right? What makes a good junior developer or great junior developer versus an average junior developer?
A great junior developer, someone who's actually a senior developer, like catfishing. That's the best junior developer. But I
But
think the answer you're looking for is, and this is actually a better answer. Um, Someone who really wants to learn. Like if you don't want to learn, right, get out. Because like in software engineering, right, there's actually no difference between an intern and a junior developer. You're literally the difference is your pay. There is no difference. When you go into a job, you as a software developer intern and you as a software junior, you're expected to do the exact same things. Right? You are doing like menial tasks. You are like even if you're given a feature, you're being guided along all the way, right? So same task, right? Like someone who treat it as an internship, and if you are treating it as your internship, you with a learning mindset of you wanting to get out of this junior role as quickly as possible, makes you a great junior developer. But if you just want to coast, right, like there are a lot of better jobs you can coast in. Of
but
course, yeah, of
yeah.
course, there's the anti-work people, but like another group of people, right?
Yes. I mean, that's why I asked that question, right? Great developers are what you said, people who loves to learn, who are, I guess, also curious, right? In
Or just great
their job.
developers in general.
Very specific. I like that. But no, I do agree that if you were to be curious, you tend to do more than what's being asked, right?
Mm.
If you were to, be a, what you say, coaster, or just a normal dev, then you just do what you're being tasked, right? And I would say there's nothing wrong and nothing right as well. It's just that if you want to, like you say, progress, right, to be a senior software developer or higher position, then these people requires this skill. But for those who
Find
just
the
want to
corporate
stay,
ladder.
yeah, for those who wants to say as a software developer, there's not, to be honest, nothing wrong, and you just do the work, and hopefully nobody takes over your job, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, I do think that great developers are people who just curious and really learns more than what they've been tasked to do. All right, so yeah, so let's end it with one more question. And what is one advice that you think will help with people who wants to transition to become a software developer?
One advisor. Grind lead code.
For those who don't
Sorry,
know what's
fair
lead
advice.
code, yeah, I mean, it's a fair advice, not say bad, right? So for those who don't know what's lead code, so lead code is basically a website that trains you in your algorithm. So they give you a lot of questions, and then you have to answer them in code. And it's a famous website for people who want to grind, or we call it, work a lot of these
Work on it.
questions. Yeah, work on it, and then actually be good at algorithm. I'm not saying it's bad. It's like, but if you want to work in, like, medium to big companies, yes,
Mostly
uh,
big, mostly the big
mostly
ones.
big. Yeah,
Medium
algorithms
companies
are,
generally don't ask anymore.
yeah, I guess they think it's not worth the time, or like yeah lah. So yeah, but what do you think about those who, like you said, right, the highest paying, you know junior dev that you've seen so far from a bootcamp is 4 to 5K. So for those who want to transition into that position, what do you think is a very good advice that would definitely help for those who's willing to transition?
So from your company, you tell your bosses you're going to a coding boot camp and you want to come back as a developer. Those are the one that gets 4 to 5K. I just want to say that's
Actually, that's
actually
a
what
very interesting, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
tell your
yeah.
boss that you want to transition into the tech role, and then you go transition.
Actually, yeah, I've never thought of
Take
that.
your, yeah, take
Yeah,
your L, like, leave out your absence
yeah,
and then go for it.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty
If you
interesting.
already know the people in the company, right, and you just want to
Mm,
like career switch, in a lot of companies, it's gonna be hard to convince them of that. But if you
true.
can, that will be very successful for you. I guess that's like the best way. But advice, I think like I've said a lot already. Like don't go into it for money. Like really be curious and learn. But yeah, like then that's the final thought I had. Just like
All right.
just tell.
Yeah. So I do agree. In summary, like, uh, what we think that will help is like, first of all, be curious. Think that will help you in your journey. And then second is, if you want to transition, like the highest possibility to be a software developer with no experience, then get a referral, or literally get a referral from your own or previous company, right? Yeah. So I think that's very good advice. All right. So thank you so much, Jay-Z, the famous
Yeah,
rapper.
boy.
No lah.
Yeah, boy.
No lah. Jays.
Dude, so I want you to I want to put it on record that like I have been renamed twice in this call before the call started. Right? I put like Mark from Meta, he removed it. I put like CEO of Google, he removed it. So it's now senior software developer from nowhere.
He's the one who put senior software developer, not me.
Oh,
Anyway, so basically, yeah, thank you so much, JC. In this, what do you call this? In this podcast, do you want to shout out your project that you're currently doing?
I'm working on a project called Oolong, but it's not done yet. Please don't look it up.
All right,
It's
so
oolong.app.
all right,
Oolong.app.
yeah,
OOLONG.app. But you
yeah.
know,
So what does that app do?
oh, it's a toolkit to help make your friendships better. It is as vague as it is possible because we are still working on a lot of things. Yeah.
So if you're interested in helping Jay Z in his project and to increase the quality of your life in terms of your friendships and friends, then yeah, hit Jay Z up, be his first few users, and then yeah, hopefully it will be a success in the future. All right. Okay. Thank
Fingers
you so
crossed.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone who's joining. Let's see
How many
you
people? How many
soon.
people in
Bye
the call? I'm
bye.
very curious.
You know how many?